Everyone, it's Emily Fox. Today's video is going to be something a little bit different. I ask you on the community tab to finish the sentence, show me a book that. I believe this was a Bookstagram thing, and I have a couple of your answers, and I'm going to answer these specific recommendations. I'm going to try and stick to books that I actually do own so I can like show it to you from my shelf, but a couple of them I think might be books that I have gotten rid of, so I'll put them on the screen. So show me a book you would recommend to someone who says, I don't like reading. Okay, I tend to call these my like dad recommendations because it's kind of the case. I would say like The Martian is like always a hit for most people if they haven't seen the movie, even if they have seen it. It's also one of the best audiobooks I've listened to. So The Martian, or even online, they can look up The Egg, again by Andy Weir. And it's about a couple pages. It's online for free. It's a short story. It's kind of sci-fi, kind of philosophical. I always tend to make people read this whenever they say, oh, I don't really like reading because they've only read, books in high school. Try The Egg. I liked it. Most people like it. Otherwise, one thing I have made my own dad read, so definitely a dad recommendation, Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. He ended up enjoying it enough that he picked up the other book, Recursion. So kind of tells you all there is to know. It's that approved. These are like mystery thrillers with like a sci-fi twist to them. They're just unputdownable. They kind of read like a movie. So if you love really nice prose, they're not for you. But for people that aren't into reading, this is the best way to actually start. Show me a book that is perfect for your taste, but you might hesitate to recommend to others. Okay. I have it right here. Look, I like mystery thrillers, but I find that they're the toughest to recommend because often I have issues. Let's be real, I have had issues with a lot of the ones I've been reading the last couple of years, although once in a while I do find one that I really enjoy. But I feel like the twist can be a hit or a miss. And this one, I am fully aware that it's a miss for most people, but for me, for some reason it worked. Behind Her Eyes, which I know became a TV show on Netflix. I watched the first episode. I've yet to continue. Probably won't. I never finish shows, I feel like. But this is just so out there. The whole story is not remotely something that should be appealing to me, yet I just continued. You're following a mom who gets rid of her kid for the summer, and there's a lot of like mom drinking, and she ends up going out flirting with a man. I think she kissed him, and turns out he's her new boss and he's married. Drama. And she ends up becoming friend with his wife. Yeah, things happen, but it becomes crazier and crazier throughout the whole book. And I ended up liking it. It's weird. It's really, really weird. And the ending is so out there. If you like crazy twists, this is the book. Most people, like I said, hated it, but I just went full on with the crazy and I was okay with it. So I'm fully aware that I can't recommend this to most people. Show me a book that you DNF'd but eventually came back to and finished and you're so glad you did. Okay, if anyone doesn't know, I have what I've been calling my pile of shame, basically books that I put down for no good reason. Sometimes I'm actually really enjoying them and I want to eventually finish them, but life happens. I did that with this book, The Song of Achilles, which, how? I put it down, I was like 100 something pages into it, and it took me 2 years to go back and finally finish it, and I loved it. So like I have no idea what happened to me, just feeling slumpy-ish, I guess, decided to start something else. And the first half I had read the physical book and eventually went back with it as an audiobook, thinking maybe I will have a better chance to finish it. And I listened to it, the whole thing as an audiobook, loved it. So like I don't know what happened. I'm super glad I did finish it because it's an amazing book and I love Madeline Miller. I can't wait for her to come out with like a million more books, but yeah, I almost didn't finish this book. Hence the pile of shame, because I know that some of them, even now, I know will love them, but for some reason, they've been on pause for like way too long. Show me a book with a character that acts exactly like someone you know in real life. Can we talk like badly about, I'm not going to mention anyone specifically, but I think we could all relate. We all know someone that is a little bit like that, maybe not 24/7, but Pride and Prejudice, I want to talk about Lydia. I feel like we've all known that person that is incredibly selfish, self-centered, and that continuously ruins their whole life and everyone's lives around them and gets away with it. I hate that. I cannot stand people like that, and like they never learn their lesson because everything ends up working out for them. Why? Yeah. feel like that's the meanest thing I've said about someone on this channel. But yeah, Lydia. Show me a book that you wanted to hug when you finished it. Okay, I don't have the physical copy. I just finished it, the ebook. I did hug actually my Kindle when I was done. The Sword of Kaijin. I just talked about it. Absolutely loved it. I had such a like journey with some of the characters, especially at Mitsuki. She is a mom in the present time, and she is trying to really conform herself to a very traditional housewife role, which she doesn't fit in that box. And you get some of her flashbacks of her growing up and going to like a school where she was learning to fight, and like she also have magical powers. And like I was really frustrated with her in the beginning because she was again trying to really conform, but she has such a great character's arc, actually all of them, that by the end I was just like so touched by her story of her becoming like a mom and a person, her own person. And I'm going to continue to read about this book. If you're looking for a standalone fantasy to read, do yourself a favor. It's great. I can't believe that book was self-published. Show me a book that whenever you look at it, you think, why do I still have this on my shelf? Honestly, so many. Kinda. I get rid of my books about once a year. I do an on-haul video. It's coming for this year. And I try to only get rid of books that I have read, or at least attempted. So I think maybe this summer I will do a like read a chapter, try a chapter with some of the books, mainly in the YA fantasy section, just to decide, am I reading them or am I getting rid of them? I think that's going to be my line. Like either you read it, like I'll try the first chapter of all of them and I'll choose which ones I'm getting rid of, and the ones I'm not getting rid of, I have to read them that month kind of thing, because they've been there for a while and I've been kind of over YA fantasy just because I've been disappointed by a lot in a row. Once in a while I still will find some that I really love though, so that's why I'm not like never reading from that genre again. It's just that shelf, there's probably like 5 or 10 books that I could get rid of if I don't read them. Show me a book that Emily from 5 years ago would be shocked current Emily loves. Okay, that one though. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Long story short, this came out like what, almost 20 years ago, like 15 years ago, 2008. And my mom and sister read the book, loved it, and I never picked it up. I was a big reader, but for some reason I had zero interest in reading it, none. And one day, whenever I was in a used bookstore, I don't remember if it was library sale or just whatever, I picked it up thinking, you know, it's cheap and like I've seen this book everywhere, maybe one day I'll pick it up. And it was on my shelf for about 4 years. Until I did a 1 week 1 shelf challenge where I was picking up like a number of my shelf and I had to read the books on that shelf only for that week. And I decided to try it, and from the first chapter I was sold. The writing just really works for me. I absolutely loved it. This is a mystery and I gave it 5 stars. I was saying how I've been like having hit and miss with mystery and thrillers. Love this one, and I have Booktube. I'm hoping I will get around to reading it this month in May. But why did I wait like so many years to finally read it? This is awesome. So if you're like me and you have yet to pick it up, do it. But 5 years ago, I didn't think I would ever get around to reading it. I would have missed out. Show me a book that you would never want your friends to know you've read. Okay, I have a few prompts like that, and like books that I'm either ashamed that I've read or I've never talked about on my channel. And the only thing I could think of, because I'm not someone that will be ashamed. Like you can only be ashamed if you let yourself be ashamed. So no shame at all, but I don't even remember the name. I will try to find it. How will I find it if I don't know the name? But I read this when I first found Booktube. It was like the Girl in 3A or something, and it's like an erotica. I did not know it was. I found it, I don't remember, library sale, used bookstore, and I picked it up because I had seen it on YouTube, and it seemed interesting because you're following this woman who stays at home because she knows she will kill someone if she doesn't. That's all I knew about it. I did not know that she was actually a cam girl. So you get a lot of information about that in the beginning, but you know, the story seemed interesting enough that I pushed through, and it was completely ridiculous. I lost interest very fast because of how ridiculous it became, and the ending was bad, in my opinion. But like, I don't think I've ever mentioned on Booktube that I've read that book, and I think a lot of people would be surprised that I have. So that's the best one I can think of. But yeah, that was not my usual genre. I'm not someone that reads erotica, just not my jam. So yeah, that might shock some of you. Show me a book that made you either fall in love with or give up hope. on a genre. Okay, love. Let's do romance because I got a lot of questions again around romance, like what's my favorite one. I did do a video all about the best one that I've read, but the oldest one that I've binge read, the trilogy, the Winter's Curse trilogy, which I didn't think I was going to enjoy. I'm someone that tends to resent whenever a fantasy series is actually romance that is disguised as fantasy, and this one I feel like is okay. Like it's not too like it's very romancy, but at the same time there's still enough fantasy elements that I was okay with it, and it just ended up working for me, like hate to love kind of thing. It worked. I binge read the whole thing. It was very addicting and I enjoyed it. No shame here, none. So yeah, this gave me hope for romance. Like it's not completely off the table now because of something like that. Otherwise, there's also A Kiss of Deception. That's another one. I feel like I saw this on Booktube constantly and decided to try it, even though, you know, romance. You follow this princess who tries to escape to avoid getting married, and then there are two men going after her, the men she was supposed to marry, and then an assassin sent to kill her, and you don't know who is who throughout the whole book, which kept me interested enough even though it was romancy. I do think the rest of the series is more like political intrigue. There's still some romance, but like it becomes bigger and bigger, and this one definitely is, again, still political intrigue, but there's a lot of romance. So these are probably like my main two I would recommend. And as far as giving up, I don't really give up on any genre, but two that disappointed me about historical fiction. I would go with, do I have the books? I think I got rid of them. I tend to do that when I didn't enjoy the book, but I'm gonna go with A Book Thief and All the Light We Cannot See. I know, I did not hate the books. I think I gave them about 3-something stars. It's just that they made me realize how over World War II historical fiction I am. They are so popular. Everyone has read them. Everyone loves them. So I went into them thinking I was going to love them, and I really didn't care, which makes me feel super heartless every time whenever it's a sad story. Obviously, it's a sad time in history, but I didn't love them. Like, didn't barely like them, you know? So I'm not giving up on historical fiction, but I feel like I don't tend to read that many of them because often I find them overhyped or they just don't work for me. A lot of you were asking me to show you a book that scared the crap out of me, and I don't get scared very easily, I feel like. But I did do a video about the weirdest books that I've read, and I feel like that's the closest to that as it's gonna get for me. One that I did get rid of was Inhalation, which such a weird book, but obviously it's kind of a sci-fi-ish. There's that one scene, not a spoiler, where she's like going down the tower. Weirdest vibe, uncomfortable feeling ever. Like, Otherwise, one that I still do have on my shelf is I'm Thinking of Ending Things, which I believe became a TV show or movie. I've yet to watch that, but there's another scene, was it a school where they're hiding? Anyway, also super uncomfortable. Nothing that will give me nightmare, but like I don't have nightmares like that. I still just get like, oh, I have a test. I didn't study for it. Like, how many years do you have to be out of school to stop having these dreams? But yeah, this is probably the closest I've been to like being uncomfortable while reading a book. You had a few prompts, so I chose the last one, which is which book do I wish was taught in school, which I thought was a good prompt. I'm gonna switch one that I have read that I wish wasn't taught. Fahrenheit 451. Don't get me wrong, I love dystopian worlds and everything, but I had this in the 4th year of high school. I didn't speak English, but I took strong English to not have it in my last year of high school, so I could choose one more bonus class, because I was getting physics and chemistry, and I wanted to also take biology. So I forced myself to go in like strong English, and I couldn't speak English. So like I tortured myself that year, and we had to read this. I did not understand one word, I swear, not one. And I reread this as an adult, and I got it, but I still feel like not really the best book to teach, I feel like, in school. I wish things like this actually were taught. This is Kindred. Am I pronouncing this right? I feel like I've heard people say Kindred. I thought that doesn't sound right. Anyway, I'll have to look it up. But Octavia E. Butler, this is such a good book. I feel like people would read the whole thing in high school. I probably would still not understood it, but that's on me. But this is such a good book. It's like historical fiction, kind of like about slavery, but it's also a little bit sci-fi twist with like time travel. This woman is sent back in time during slavery, and it's really dark, but at the same time, I feel like that would make for a really interesting topic to discuss in class. So if you have yet to pick this up, definitely do. This was easily a 5-star for me. Show me a book that you didn't like, but after rereading, you loved it. Okay, I know the author is completely cancelled. I'm all for that. I just wanted to include that one because I feel like it's the best example, literally, ever. The 5th Harry Potter book. I feel like when I read it as a kid, I hated it because Harry was so angsty, so negative, and rereading it as an adult, first off, I realized that poor thing is suffering. Like, everyone thinks he's lying and he's just seeing like horrible stuff happen. And I think I ended up associating some of the stuff that I love in this one, like the Dumbledore Army, with the 6th book, which used to be my favorite, and I ended up liking this a lot more than I thought. So I do feel like as a kid, you tend to judge things that you probably just don't understand. So definitely changed my mind about that. Show me a book with a character's name you have no clue how to pronounce, or you know how to pronounce but you keep pronouncing differently. One thing to know about me is that I'm terrible with names, which I'm trying to work on it. Your brain is powerful, and if you keep telling yourself that you're bad with names, you will be bad with names. So I'm working on it. But Throne of Glass series, I got rid of that. But Cole, I've been calling him Cole. I believe it's supposed to be pronounced Kale, which I will die on that hill. I will not call him Kale. I will not. Maybe it's different than that, but I've been calling Cole because that sounded better in my head, and no. So I do that a lot though. I tend to just remember the first letter of the character's name, which again, I'm working on not doing that, but yeah. I probably mispronounce every single character's name, especially fantasy. They always have weird names, or sci-fi. That's gonna be it for today's video. Let me know if you would like to see a part 2 because you still gave me so many good prompts, so I can definitely try to do more of these. It's gonna be a fun recommendation video with like very specific topics. I hope you enjoyed it. Thumbs up, subscribe. I will be putting more videos on the screen that I recommend you check out, and I will see you in my next one very soon. Bye.